Radix. Help other companies, support other companies in leveraging AI. We go until impact has been achieved, until we make a difference. What we describe as AI is technology that allows us to automate cognitive abilities of a human being. Be it planning, be it writing, be it looking at something and saying what's in the picture. Those are cognitive things that you can automate. And then you have different technologies that can help you achieve that. Make sure that actually not only the board, not only management, but also the company understands the potential and feels what it can do. And at the same time do experiments to know, okay, where is the actual value for us? And then once the dust settles, take their beach buggy and go fast through the sand.
This is CIONET TV. My name is Hendrik Deckers. I'm here today with Davio Larnout, who is the CEO of Radix. A very warm welcome, Davio.
Hi, Hendrik.
Davio, you have a master in business administration, management and IT, postgrad in big data and analytics from the University of Ghent. Before co-founding Radix, you were a senior technology consultant at PricewaterhouseCoopers, and you also founded in 2016 BrainSpark. So, Davio, tell us a little bit more about yourself. Who are you really, and how did you arrive here in the position of CEO of Radix?
First of all, Hendrik, I'm glad to be here. I have always been somewhat of an entrepreneurial mindset and a bit of a technology geek. And I think both came together in Radix. As a kid, I always wanted to build my own company, but my parents didn't really allow me because they were pretty risk averse. Mm-hmm. They both had entrepreneurial parents and they know the downsides of that. So they wanted to protect me from that, I guess. And on the other side, I've always been I liked tinkering with my computer and stuff like that. And then during my master's, I came into contact with what is then called data mining. Okay. And I saw something of which I thought, this is very interesting, what we can do here with adding data and mathematics, and then magic happens. And at that point, more or less also, there was some sort of a breakthrough in AI. That was 2011 or 2012. And at that point, I said, I have to do something with this. First tried at PwC, was not that easy, and eventually decided to do something on my own.
Okay, and so you're running Radix how many years now?
5 years, since 2018.
And so tell me in two sentences, what is that Radix does and what does it really, really well?
We help other companies, we support other companies in leveraging AI. So there's a complete AI boom. What can you do with it? And we help them build it. And what are we extremely good at? I think there's a lot of fluff and a lot of trying and experiments and stuff like that. We go until impact has been achieved, until we make a difference. And I think that's something which is throughout the whole DNA of Radix. Everybody, if we start working together with a client, we want to make a difference. Yep. And how does it translate into what we do on a daily business? It means that technology is merely technology. We focus on understanding the customer, their needs, their pains, their business, and then seeing, okay, which tool do we now need for this specific problem? Yep. And that's something I think we're exceptionally good at. Okay,
so your telephone must be very busy because the world is going crazy on AI. I mean, we have GPT, next versions coming out, we have Mid-Journey, so there's so much going on with generative AI at the moment that's really gone mainstream. And that's really is disrupting creative processes, white-collar jobs, and so on and so on. So what's your vision in general on where we are with AI today? Is it really disrupting businesses, and how do you see it evolving in the near future?
I think today we see a lot of applications of new things that can happen, but I wouldn't say that today we're disrupting anything, because there's an inertia in companies, and there's also still things to be uncovered in the technology, but you can clearly see what will be possible in the next few months and years, and that will be enormous. Yep. The things that we are working on today are, virtual assistants that can help you navigate information in your company, which is already quite impressive, where usually you had to go to a BI guy and then make an SQL statement and then run some data and put it in a nice visual. Yeah. Now you talk to a chatbot who can talk to an SQL database, who can turn that into a query and then make it into a visual.
Yeah.
And you do that with a few natural language questions, which is amazing.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't call that disruptive yet for a business.
Okay.
But you can feel that there's disruption in there. Put that into a product or put that at scale, and then you come very close to disruption.
Yep.
But what I also think we need to do is to get to that disruption. Usually we're still at the point of we have this process of A, B, C, D, and then we do this, and then we add AI. But what you get is you get faster at, let's say if you add AI at point D, you get faster there, but your entire process, it's only marginal.
Okay.
What we see now is that companies start rethinking, how do we go from A to Z, not with the path we use today, but if we add AI, how does this fundamentally change how we generate business?
Yep.
And that's what's happening right now. And if you connect those two dots, then we'll see things happening which are absolutely amazing.
AI is really also an umbrella term, right? So maybe to structure our conversation a little bit, explain me in your view, what are the different categories of AI and the different domains of AI?
That's a very good question. I think there's a lot of opinions on it as well. So I think I respect all of them. We have one of our own, of course.
Yep.
As you've said, indeed, AI is an umbrella term. It's not a technology. It's an umbrella term, and the way what we describe as AI is technology that allows us to automate cognitive abilities of a human being. Be it planning, be it writing, be it looking at something and saying what's in the picture. Those are cognitive things that you can automate.
Yep.
And then you have different technologies that can help you achieve that. The one which is most famous today is what we call deep learning. And then within deep learning, you have generative AI, which is actually already a part of deep learning, because the deep learning collection is bigger than only generative AI. That's the one which is most known today. And that's usually through something we call transformers or diffusion models, which is the type of AI models that caused the breakthrough today. But of course, the collection is a lot bigger. Things that we are also working on is, for instance, something completely different is more mathematical optimization for planning purposes, where we can automate the planning of production planning at Atlas Copco, where we support them to optimize that. That's an entirely different category of technology, but still, in a way, it's automating cognitive tasks, and we help them do that production planning a lot faster and a lot better.
Yep.
Now, where is the line? That's, for us, everything that automates that cognitive task fits within the umbrella, and then you have categories of technology, which is more typically operations research, which are the optimization technologies. Then you have machine learning. Within machine learning, you have deep learning. Deep learning are the black box algorithms, the ones where you add data and something comes out for most
neural
people.
Networks.
A neural network. That's a deep learning is a neural network with multiple hidden layers, is what they call it. It's deep. There's a lot in it. There's a lot in it. And then within that, you have generative AI, which is a specific type of algorithms that in the last few months have shown incredible results in generating data and not just classifying or predicting anything.
Okay. Now, you work a lot with big companies, big organizations. And when you talk to CIOs, when you talk to CEOs, do you think that organizations really understand today fundamentally the impact that AI is having today and will have in the near future on business and society in general?
I don't think they understand it. I do think they feel that there's something happening, at least, and that's good. But I don't think they understand it, and I also think it's a tricky debate right now, because at this point there's a lot of pessimistic talk around it. You have Geoffrey Hinton, the godfather of AI, that left Google. Yesterday there was an event from the Tate New Insights where Peter Abel was giving a keynote, where he also had a bit of a view like there is an opportunity, there is a possibility that AI will take over people. As far as I'm concerned, I think that's today there's no sign whatsoever that will happen. On the positive side, what things that we are seeing is, as an example, we see AI being used as a private tutor for children and for graduates, which is in research shown that you can drastically improve the mastery of students if you can tutor them one-on-one. But that wasn't, in the UK it's very popular and they pay a lot of money to do it. Here it's less,
Yep.
but it has incredible results. And now with this technology, we can do that at scale. We can have a private tutor for everyone.
Yep.
That's an example of a radical change that will happen, where the knowledge of our kids will grow a lot faster and a lot better just because of that technology. And then I'm not even talking about the examples of healthcare, of predicting what the next medicines will be, of helping us to go to Mars faster, of harvesting asteroids because they have cobalt on them and we don't have enough on the planet Earth. So all of these things are going to be possible because of AI.
Yep.
So there's a lot going on, to come back to your question, and the impact will be immense. I think today most people sense that there's something happening.
Yep.
In most board meetings, AI is on the agenda and is almost the only topic on the agenda. What do we need to do with it? What does it mean for us?
Yep.
I think that's the right question to ask. I think there's a storm right now. We're in the middle of it. And I think the most important thing is that companies should experiment and be ready when the dust settles to put the pedal to the metal, basically, and be ready for it. I wouldn't over-invest as well.
Okay.
Because a lot there's a question of buy and build. A lot will be built into products, will be already available, where you don't need services like ours to make something custom. And a lot of them, if you want to have strategic value, you will need service providers like us to help you build stuff. So, but what will it be? We have an advice. I would say we have and that's things we share. But it's the future, and nobody can predict the future.
So your advice is to companies: keep it on the board agenda.
Yes,
keep
exactly.
talking about it, learn about it, and then get your hands dirty and do your first couple of small projects.
Make sure that actually not only the board, not only management, but also the company understands the potential and feels what it can do. It's like with big data, with any new technology, the first step is that the company needs to understand and needs to build a reflex. This is happening. We can use AI. This is a technology and it can help us solve this problem.
Yep.
That's something they need to invest in by making sure that people understand this and have this reflex.
Okay.
And at the same time do experiments to know, okay, where is the actual value for us?
Okay.
And then once the dust settles, they can take their beach buggy and go fast through the sand.
Could you give an example of that kind of first tryouts and getting your hand dirty projects that you're doing with your clients?
Yes, but I can't tell all of it, of course. It's a very wide range. It goes from a simple Q&A bot that on top of their compliance data, because there's heaps of them and people don't really know anymore what's there, and it's all written in, legal text. It's very nicely written. And then, but what we do is we add on top of that a Q&A assistant that helps you, okay, if I, in this specific context, need to know if I'm compliant or not, the system digs into the information and gives you back the answer, but in plain language. That's a simple one. Mm-hmm. But then we go a lot further in some cases where let's say...
Let's take a concrete example. I know that you work for GSK, for VDAB, for United Nations. What is your favorite stories that you can tell us?
I can't tell names, but for a large manufacturing company, one of the challenges that they are having is that they have a lot of knowledge which is within their experts, and some of them go away and some of them go retire, and then they have new joiners which are not necessarily experts yet, and all of that knowledge right now is captured within people or within old documents. Documents spread over, and I think we all know that. You have a SharePoint, you have a C, you have a LA, and it's all over the place. So what we're doing for them is actually building a co-pilot for their operators, that they can find the information of how to manufacture a specific product through chatting with the system. And that finds back the right document and translates it back to a schema of saying, okay, these are the steps you need to do to manufacture this specific product.
Okay.
This is, I know it's no details, but I think
It's interesting that companies are so sensitive about sharing what they're doing with the latest generative AI and bots and so on, right?
The thing is, if this works as good as we predict it will, it will have a huge impact, not just on the fact that they can share knowledge, but the productivity, because they see there's a lot of knowledge that that goes lost in translation and that they need to find by chatting with each other. But you can extend it to, if this works well, to new product design, and to there's a chain of things that can follow, and this can be so strategically important that when they're protective of it because they don't want others to know it. So they're all a bit like, oh, this is the new thing, and we need to shield it for the rest of what we're doing.
Yep.
I guess you understand.
Okay, sure. So you're very positive about the future of AI. But as you said, even some huge names in there think this is also a moment to reflect. So don't you think that we need some regulations in place, that we need more transparency around AI and the domains it is being used and where the data comes from and so on and so on?
Of course, I think regulation. The goal of regulation is to make sure that we're safe, and I think that's good, and to make sure that we're treated fairly. I think regulation is necessary, but the way I have a problem with the way it's being addressed today.
Okay.
Like, oh, we're going to die. That's basically like the message. And definitely, I don't know if you saw the headline of all of those famous names saying that we need to do something about AI. It's a few days ago. You know, the actual statement that they made was one sentence. AI is a potential risk as big as nuclear weapons. Do you agree? Yes or no? That was basically the statement they made, and that's it. No more information, no research, no supporting arguments, just that one sentence. Yep. And I do agree, in a negative situation, you can imagine that AI might do things we don't want it to do. But today it's far from that,
Yep.
far from that. ChatGPT is here since December last year. I have not seen anyone being killed by ChatGPT today. Not yet. But so the thing is, to come back to your question, I do think there's a need for regulation, because there will be malicious people using it, and if it's a tool for the good, it's a tool for the bad. That's the thing with tools. Hammer can use it for multiple things.
Yep.
So yes, there should be regulation. And yes, we need to make sure that AI cannot take over, even though it's not the case today. Maybe in a few years, it can become more dangerous.
Yep.
We need to think about it. But the way it's being addressed, I don't like.
Okay.
Because it's being addressed from a view that it scares people. People are scared. I'm talking to people on a daily basis that are interested in AI but don't know a lot about AI. And it's always the first question, do I have to be scared? And I'm like, no. Are you scared of your keyboard? I hope you're not. But if I want, I can kill you with your keyboard. I can try. I would not want to do it, but you get the point. So it's the way they bring it. It's so exaggerative.
Yep.
And people get scared. And definitely in politics, that is something which is even more dangerous, in my opinion. Just for public vote, they could do some stupid suggestion just because it's popular and people are scared. Oh, let's stop AI because then I get vote. Exaggerating a little bit, they're more smart than that. They will do it a bit more sophisticated, but at the end it will boil down to something like that because they don't understand it.
Yeah, it's
and that's the dangerous part.
I mean, we're in the middle. We're in the eye of the storm of an AI storm at the moment. So it's very difficult to see where it's all going to go. So let's not panic. Is your message? But at the same time, AI has been around, and AI models and so on has been around for many, many years. We had winters and springs over the last 20, 30 years that people have been working on AI. So let's maybe take a step back and look at a couple of domains that you and your clients have been working on with maybe more traditional AI tool sets and so on. Where do you see very interesting application domains and where there's a lot of value to be gained by implementing good?
It's amazing that we can already say traditional AI. It's like the breakthrough was in 2012, deep learning, and that's already old school. Let's not do that anymore. Let's look at the new stuff. But let's say that the traditional AI, and that could be deep learning, but let's not say the generative AI, that is already creating huge amounts of value today. And there are examples there. There's thousands out of there.
Yeah.
For instance, GSK, we helped them speed up their vaccine development process by detecting bacteria in a specific phase. I won't go into the details, but in the end, a lab technician can do that specific part of the process 6 times faster. And the accuracy that they have is higher as well. So they have better results.
Yep.
So meaning we have vaccines, we have them faster and more qualitative because of AI. At the airport, we help you find back your luggage. We help you reduce waiting times in the airport. That's who likes waiting in the airport. So these are things which are happening today. We're helping the Flemish Public Employment Service, VDAB, with matching jobs and job seekers.
Yep.
These are things happening today. I can go on and on and on if you want. Atlas Copco, as I mentioned, reducing their...
So how do these organizations that you talk about, how do they organize? I mean, did they call you in with your expertise, but then how do they build their own expertise? What's the journey that they go through to really develop this as a strategic tool in their organization?
So you're asking from a perspective, let's say you're not doing anything yet, is it?
Yes. So what's the typical steps that you want to take today? I mean, except for experimenting with some of the latest stuff, but
I think the thing. So we've seen many paths, but I would say the most successful ones are the ones that it starts at the top. You need conviction there, which means you need money for it. You need to make a choice. That's as simple as that, because otherwise it's, I don't know how you say that in English, brillen in de marge. It's just doing something which doesn't make any difference.
No.
So I think there needs to be a strategic choice. That's number one. And a direction in which that strategic choice will go. So we, for instance, at the airport, we helped them in the beginning understand what can AI mean. We help them with understanding which are the large fields you need to look at, and what can that mean for you as a business, and paint a picture for that so that they understand, okay, in that area, that's where we can create value. But from the moment that has happened, and once the conviction is there, it's very important that there's a very quick adoption or bottom-up approach as well, through experimenting and through giving people some budget, some time, some leverage to start the experimentation, because there the conviction will start for, okay, and the real cases will boil up. You can have some top-down cases, that happens, and we do that, and these are strategic things, and we just pull these and make these happen. But AI is a horizontal, it's a technology, it goes across the company, and it starts creating real value once your company is at that tipping point of understanding what this means for them. And that's the best thing that you do, is having some kind of ambassador, advocate, or head of AI, or whatever you call it, and that can liaise with the other company, with the other business parts, and build momentum and do experiments and build credibility, and then along the way that boils up, and you get it changes from top down push to bottom up demand. That's what you want.
Okay.
And then in terms of setup, we've seen having a core team centralized and saying what happens, to being all over the place, calling it shadow AI or shadow data science, like you had with shadow IT, or you still have probably. And I think the best way is again a mix of both. Is having some kind of center of excellence, or where they come together, share expertise, and learn from each other, but being in the business, in the field. Because for AI and data, it's even more important to understand where the value lies, because it's very close to applications. It's not like, we need to build infrastructure. You have cloud for that. What you do is you build the thing that companies need to master is building applications. And that's what we help them in, is defining that roadmap, helping them to develop a workflow. How do you go from identifying the right use cases to making some experiments, and then setting up a flow? Because going from an experiment to an actual in production application, that's a very that doesn't happen overnight. So it starts from going from an experiment to involving IT at the right time, to having a process, which is typically something we call today MLOps, which is machine learning operations, is making sure that the experiment becomes an actual value creator.
Okay. And do you see in organizations today already the head of AI? Do you see the chief AI officer? Do you see a VP AI? Are these roles popping up nowadays?
Our leading customers have or a VP of AI or a head of AI, and there's always someone in the C-suite who has the clear ownership of AI. Those are the ones that are leading, where it's very clear this is something which is on our map and is something that we are dedicated to invest in. And they typically, what I also see is then they typically invest in their own product being AI supported, so in their own R&D, and in the crucial processes for their company to have a strategic advantage. The periphery, there you typically see more looking at buying products or SaaS or whatever.
CIONET, we're a community for digital leaders, CIOs, CDOs, and CTOs, and so on. So where do you see the role of the CIO in the adoption and the usage of AI? Do you see AI as a domain that needs to be controlled and managed and organized by the CIO, or maybe you don't want to see it in their control? How is that working?
I think that's a very good question. I think that depends a lot on the type of CIO and the way they're positioned in the company. It's a technology and it's an information technology, so there's definitely a link with the CIO. But in my experience, you have CIOs which are typically more involved or have the position to make sure that the infrastructure and then stuff keeps on running. And you have the ones who have more ownership also of innovation and more application stuff. I see those two different interpretations of CIO. I'm not so sure if that is what you see as well, but that's how I see it. If it's on the infrastructure level, I think the AI part is more looking at, okay, what is it on, what cloud do we need? What choices do we make in terms of technology, in terms of governance?
Yep.
And then the application part should probably be another role. Yep. But from the moment you're getting closer to the application side and to the innovation, it's definitely, side, and the data, it's definitely something that fits in that portfolio.
Because what are the challenges today? I mean, the challenge is that it's all new and you need experts and so on, but on company level, what are the challenges for organizations to really adopt this fast than they're doing today? And is it data? That was a leading question to see if it's the organization, the maturity, the cleanness, of data. Is that a big thing or not?
It's a good question. What I noticed, for instance, yesterday there was a question at New Insights on, should I buy a new ERP or should I wait on the AI revolution and will it just make my ERP, I don't need it anymore and AI will solve it? It was a bit of a blown up question, but it does paint a picture of what I feel with a lot of companies today is, do we invest now or do we wait now? And what I mean to make speed is that they're a bit okay, what do we do? And I think there it's that experimentation which is crucial. I think to understand what is happening, to understand what the value is for you as a company. And for the rest, I think the other one is where the companies, our clients have decided we invest in AI, then they get so many demand of the business right now because they've all used ChatGPT and they now all think that AI is as easy as just open ChatGPT and we all have AI and we all want this and this and that. But it's all possible. And it's not just opening ChatGPT and it works. Having it work on an enterprise level, meaning it needs to be secure, meaning you want to have it used on your own data, meaning you need access rights that are properly done, meaning you don't want to lose your data suddenly leaked somewhere. So there's a lot of questions of how do you make that happen.
No.
That is what I see right now is that filtering through all the demand of the company, because everybody now wants AI, which are the good cases? How do you prioritize them? How do we help them learn to prioritize them so that we get a better filter towards us? Yep. Because there are now an over demand in all companies of we all want this. And I think now is the challenge is filtering on what are the things we need to focus on that will build value. And I think the best ones that we've seen right now is actually a pharmaceutical company. I'm quite impressed with how they approach bringing that knowledge into the business so they can start filtering their own. And they come up with very good ideas, quite mature already. And in that way, they can start quite efficiently starting with experiment. And they don't need to first have a gazillion meetings on this is bullshit, this is... They probably say it a bit more polite, but you get the point.
Yep. So what's your favorite of all the projects your company have been working on? What's your favorite, your most, that you're most proud of, and where you can mention the name of the project?
That's the point. The one that I'm most proud of, I can't mention.
Okay.
But it has something to do with very futuristic stuff. And I hope in a few years we'll see something from it. The one that we can mention, it might be a bit cliche, but it's just, they are, I all like them. I think what I like the most about our projects is the way in which our clients and our team really work together because they see something that wasn't there yet and that we can make possible.
Yep.
That is what really makes my clock tick.
Yep.
And that's the day we started at VDAB, it was like, now we have old school technology and it sucks and it doesn't work well and that it doesn't do good and that it doesn't do good. And then you start thinking, okay, with using natural language processing, we could do this, we could do that. And then you start seeing things which weren't possible. The same for the airport. There's like, now we have these waiting times and it's not optimized, for instance, certain parts of the airport where the passenger experience, we can really boost that a lot. And then once you start seeing connecting those dots, that's amazing.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about your company, Radix. How is it organized and what kind of different teams that you have? What processes do you have in place? How do you collaborate with your clients? Can you explain that a bit?
Definitely. It's a very interesting question because it changes quite often. We're doubling in size in I think every year and a half right now. So that means that what we did a year and a half ago is completely different from what we're doing right now. Yeah. I think the most recent and important team that became crucial in Radix is what we call the solution leads, which is something that I think every company needs. It's somewhat of the combination between a project manager and an analytics translator. It's the bridge between understanding the business and the technology, and it becomes even more important now with the generative AI, the explosion of use cases. You really need people who can understand the challenges of a business and have an intuition for AI. So that's one which is very important, which is a crucial part for our project. And otherwise, how are we structured? So we have a delivery team. The delivery team are the engineers. Those are the builders. They know AI from A to Z. We have the solutions team, which are, maybe you know that that's something that they coined, the Helix model, which is you have a capability. So in delivery is a capability building team, knowledge building. So that's what they do. They build knowledge, but the solutions team is the value creation team. So a solution lead has a team which is assembled from out the delivery team that works on a specific project. But those teams fluctuate depending on what is available and on the demand of the customer. So we can be very flexible and, okay, that's the type of challenge. Then we need this type of skill, these type of experiences. And then we assemble a team led by a solution lead. And those solution leads have an expertise in a specific domain. So they know the business. So for instance, we have a solution lead who is specifically trained or has expertise in pharmaceuticals and in biotech, and they really understand the business, okay, and then they make a translation. This is the type of team I need to build this. Okay. And that way we can be very flexible in the problems we can tackle.
Okay. And what's the kind of profile of people that you hire in? Is it all PhD in nuclear physics, or what kind of people do you need?
I think we have, I don't know what the percentage is today, but we have quite a lot of PhDs indeed. Mm-hmm. Most of them are civil engineers or mathematical engineers or physicists indeed. So a strong mathematical background is important, but equally important for us. So we've hammered on that from day one. In contrast with a lot of other companies, we don't just want the people that understand the mathematics, but we also want the people that understand how it creates value.
Okay.
So within our hiring process, for instance, you have a technology challenge, the tech challenge, and that's coding, making something AI, which is being evaluated. But immediately the step after that, if you are technically capable, is a business case where they need to start from, this is the challenge a customer has, translate this to an AI solution.
Yeah.
And if that's equally important as the technology challenge, because for us, we don't believe in you just understand mathematics. You need to make the link between both. And okay, some people are stronger in it than others, but that's very important for us. So mainly engineers, solution leads team is a mix of engineers, but like myself, I have more an economics background, but a very strong technology affinity. And I think that's always crucial.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, there's a big scarcity of data scientists and top talent on the market today. And they can go and work for big companies, and they can go work for the most, for pharmaceutical companies with the highest salaries and so on and so on. So these young potentials that have a lot of choice, why would they come and work for Radix?
Well, the question is not why do they come and work for Radix? Because that's something, talent was our number one challenge in the beginning, and that's something I would say actually we've solved. We can pick the best talent. That's basically something, a luxury position that we have today. And why? Because I think we're, and this will be very braggy, which is not really something I'm used to do, but we really have a great company and team. And it's I would say it's more the team that makes it than it's a combination of, we have great people, and our people are the ones that hire the new people as well. And we have a very strong culture in that sense.
But describe that a little bit. What is unique in your company culture?
I would say there is almost no one who gets not accepted. How quirky you can be, it doesn't matter. I think that's important. We share knowledge and learn from each other from, not only in the technology, but it's a sharing culture. It's sharing not only in knowledge, but also in who we are, what we daily do. It's we get a lot of freedom. I don't know where our people are working. I have no clue. We want them to be there on Monday and Friday because I think it's important to be at the company at some point. Yeah. But for the rest, I have no idea. And we don't check if they work. That's not something we're doing. We believe that they want to achieve something. We give them that utmost freedom. They work abroad, they work in Belgium. We allow them to do that as long as also it fits with the customer and with the part. Sometimes you need to be there. Sometimes it's just communication goes better. It's important, but that's something that they sense, that they know themselves. We don't need to tell them that. So we're extremely flexible. We give a lot of freedom. I think, I don't know how many nationalities we have today, but quite a lot. We have Belgians, we have Ukrainians, we have people from the US, we have people from Italy, we have people from Spain, we have people from the Netherlands, and I'm forgetting countries because I don't know all them by heart. We just, Denmark, well, we all speak English, so for me they're all the same. Yep. And that's basically, everyone is the same. Even I'm the CEO. I think if you see me running around, usually people don't think I'm the CEO.
So you're the CEO, you co-founded this organization, what is it now, 5 years ago? You're doubling every 18 months. Tell me a little bit about your challenge as a CEO today. And what is it that you're focused on now? How big is the company, a number of people, and what is your focus today?
So we're around 50-55 today. We have a very strong management team today, which I'm very proud of that we have that, which is something that was a work of the last year, I would say. They're growing a lot, and actually I would almost dare to say, managing the company. So that was very challenging, but very interesting experience, and now being very positive as well. Now towards the future, we're growing fast, but for me, it's never fast enough. That's my strong point, but also my weak point. So it's not, and I'm looking for, okay, how can you do a turbo on the turbo? We now have a solid team in Belgium. This is working really well. Now, what's next? We're looking abroad. We already have our first customers abroad. So we're working for a few companies in the US, in Italy, the Nordics. So we need to extend that now.
Yeah.
Today, it's all being serviced remotely. Now we need to put a foot on the ground over there. So that's really something that we're now working on to make that, to sustain that growth. And actually, the ambition is to grow even faster.
Yeah. So you're very ambitious. The goal is to conquer the world then, or?
Well, and Mars included.
Okay. So fundamentally, your role is you've set up your team. You have a strong management team. So where do you spend most of your time then today?
As in the location? No. Where do I spend the most of my time? It's a good question. It's so diverse because there's so many moving pieces.
It's with clients, it's with your team, it's with your shareholders. What is it?
Well, shareholders, I'm lucky to be together with the co-founders, the only shareholders, so we don't have a lot of challenges there. For the rest, it's with the management team, supporting them, understanding how they can grow. It's with the customers. It's helping them see, okay, what is it that AI can do for them? I think those are the main two things. And then hiring, making sure that we, in the key roles, having the key people, I think that's the three things which are on my agenda.
You already said that you're very impatient. You're always going to want to go faster and faster. So that puts quite a pressure, I can imagine, on your teams and your organization. So what do you think that people appreciate about your leadership style? Because, I mean, you're clearly a leader of this organization. What do you think they will say about your leadership style when they're having a coffee together and you're not there?
I think I prefer a very radical candor style, which is I say what I think. They know what I think. I can hide what I think, which is something is mutual. I think that's very important. I also think I need to learn a lot still. I know that I can be quite directive in what I think we need to go, which is good in the beginning, which I now need to ease a bit, which is a learning curve for myself as well. Yeah. Because that's what, as I said before, they're a very strong team right now, and I need to let go a little bit because they know what they can do and they know how far they can go. So I think that's the important part, which the leader I try to be. Maybe that's the answer I can give, which is I try to learn from what works, what doesn't work, and become a better leader myself. Yeah. And I think the important shift that I need to make right now is from a more directive point of view to a more servant or whatever you want to call it. I try to actually change even a little bit depending on the person I'm working with, what they need, the experience they have, the maturity that they have. But I have to say that's a challenge for me.
Okay. And where do you learn from? Who are your mentors, your examples, people that you look up to that inspire you?
That's a good question. I read a lot. I like biographies, reading about how they do things, and just talking to people. And one conversation I had not so long ago with Stijn Christiaans, which is the co-founder of Colibra and CTO and now CDO of Colibra. And I don't really ask for help quite fast, but I learn from seeing how they work and the way he can. I have an extreme amount of respect for what he has done so far.
Yeah, they're building a unicorn now.
Exactly. Well, that's already more than a unicorn. But the humbleness in which he can still present himself and be open and share and not looking down or whatsoever, that I think is something which I admire a lot. While being very successful, still having that humbleness, that is something. And that allows him to be, in my opinion, a great leader. He gives energy to people without needing to force himself just because he is among them. And I think that's very strong.
Okay. Now, let's take a step deeper and let's drill down a little bit more on you as a person and as a leader. What is it? And so drive, results, growth is clearly very important for you. And making sure that you bring the team with you is the challenge, and that what you're working on very hard. But if we go below that, what are the core values that you would say that you would live by, the things that are that drive you in your decision making?
There's the first two that come up is, first of all, authenticity, integrity. I don't like faces. I like people. I really, if I have the feeling people are not honest, and I try to speak my heart as well. Yeah. And I think that is extremely important for me. Mm-hmm. Truth, honesty, say what you think, and all the blah blah blah. I don't need it. Mm-hmm. That is very, very important to me. Mm-hmm. And so important that people that don't do that, I really, and I have a good detector for it. Okay. That's number one. Number two, I don't like convention. I hate convention. I'm a bit like my 3-year-old daughter. I already know what she's going to say. If I ask something before I ask it, she says no. Which is like, I like to challenge, mm-hmm. but because I don't like people, it's always been like that. That's something I hate. Mm-hmm. I think it's very important to think about what you want to achieve and start from, in physics, what they call first principles, start from the basics. Yep. And not start somewhere in the middle, because it has always been like that. That's where the mistakes happen. That's where all the inefficiencies in the whole world come from, because everything has happened like that. Yep. I think, so that challenging of going back to where does it start? Mm-hmm. Where is the actual problem? And what's the basic ingredients that we need to work with? Yep. That's one. Integrity, authenticity, being honest. And thirdly, but it fits with honesty, but also being trustworthy, reliable. If you say something, a word is a word. Okay. If you don't follow that word, that's mentally written, and I never forget. Okay. What do your parents think of you now? I mean, you're running your own business now, being quite successful. They didn't want you to be an entrepreneur. How do they look at you today? I wouldn't say they didn't want it to be. They were scared of it. And I think they're over that part of being scared, because they see that somehow it works. Yeah. But it's also very interesting. Like, my dad didn't text me, "I'm proud of you." But if I see him, he's like, "You're doing good." So, but they're definitely proud of me. That's for sure. Now, how do they feel about it? It's a good question. I think for them, it's a very big unknown in some way, as in what is happening. AI is already something which is a unknown. My father then says, I follow you on LinkedIn. I look every day, or each and every other day. Yeah. So yeah, they're definitely proud. They okay, but they're very proud of you. They're very proud, but at the same time, my parents are also, and that is something which I think is good. They don't put me on a pedestal, and they will probably never. You know, my father is he passed away now, but even after 20 years, I had my own business. He was still being, "Are you sure you can sustain yourself?" Yeah. Also not very entrepreneurial at the time. So. Davio, if you allow me, maybe a couple of more personal questions, because I think it's really interesting to know the person behind the leader and the entrepreneur. If you look back at your still young life, what are the things that you say that are really the best thing that has ever happened to you in your life? And the best thing that has happened to me in my life, I think the best is yet to come, and I think that's something which I live by. The best thing. Well, cliche, I do think my kids. I think that's very cliche, but I think it made me a different person, looking at the world differently. That's, I think, the kids. Then the fact of taking the step of like thinking of being an entrepreneur for years, and then suddenly just fuck it and do it. Yeah. And that's basically the summary of how do you be an entrepreneur? Fuck it and do it. Yeah. And it's far less risky, I think, than most people think. There's a lot of risk in it. I'm not saying that, but there's less to lose than most people think, in my opinion. What is it that you fear most in your life today? A not succeeding. But the question then will be, what is succeeding? And that the line changes every 6 months, I would say.
So not succeeding.
Encountering my limits.
Okay.
A point where I feel I can't go further. Because I don't think that exists.
Okay. So there's nothing to fear there, and right? So
but I don't know if you have that, but there's always a yin and a yang, a duality in a person, which is on one side I believe, and I truly believe for everyone, there's nothing you cannot do, nothing. I've said that but then people look at me like, what stupid things are you saying? But Elon Musk is, how much worth is he? What is he doing? Like too much? Even being 10% of that.
Yeah, it's more than enough.
It's more than enough. And I'm like, okay, why would I even hesitate? If he can do that, if I'm 10% of that, I'm pretty good. So I think fundamentally it boils down to that. Believing you can do it, that determination. Okay, you need some competence and some intelligence, of course. But I think it's marginal returns between after a certain level of IQ, basically, and then it's determination, grit, and really pushing.
Yep.
And that's something in my co-founder I admire as well. He is if he puts his mind to something, and that's something which makes us very strong as a duo. Yep. If we put our mind to something, I really there's nothing we cannot do.
Yep. Maybe I've mentioned already a couple, but is there a mantra, a saying that you use that helps you in a difficult situation to get clarity, that helps you make a decision?
There's two different questions. To get clarity, it takes thinking and structure. I need structure to think, and that I can do that myself. I can do that by talking to others. But my mantra, just do it, fuck it. At some point, if something becomes difficult, it can go to a point where you get stressed, where you get discomfort. But for me, that very quickly changes into, fuck this shit, I can do this, I don't give a... It's like, by not caring anymore what can happen and just tackling it, because whatever happens, it can't get worse, so just deal with it.
Yep.
But I'm usually then, I need something... I start running, I need something which like some bit of adrenaline or other things which are not always things you should do, but to get the adrenaline going, and then I just don't give a shit anymore and just start doing things.
Okay.
Which is, for some people, maybe not the right thing to do, but for me it helps.
Davio, what I really wanted to know is what is according to the secret of success of Radix?
I think number one, determination, and number two, the most important one is there's a few people that you encounter, and it's luck, or it's in Dutch they say meeval. It's you help luck a little bit, but those few people can really make the difference. I think in the beginning, Guido van Humbeek, which helped us and was really a fan of us. I think that was someone who really believed in us from the beginning. Bart Saverwins at Brussels Airport Company as well is someone that really believed in us. At home as well, having a girlfriend who can carry all of this shit. I would not want to be in her shoes. I think that's very important. My co-founders, I think that's also something. There's moments where you almost try to kill each other in a way of speaking, but you still pull through. Mm-hmm. And now in our management team, I think having some extremely talented people and driven people, I think that's really what makes a difference.
Okay. Davio, these video interviews are being watched by many different kind of people, but also by high potentials that are looking to develop an interesting career like yours, or that are looking to develop a career in AI. What's the advice that you would give to young, ambitious professionals that want to be successful in your domain?
in my domain, if it comes to, you have the entrepreneurial part, and you have the AI part.
Okay.
I think entrepreneurial part, if you're a high potential and that's something you dream of, just do it. I think the only difference between someone who is an entrepreneur and who isn't is the one that does it. I think that's, and it sounds easy, but it isn't. But that's the number one thing. Just do it. If it comes down to AI, it depends a lot on what you want to achieve in the domain of AI. My own journey, I went quite far in I don't have a technical background, as we said in the beginning, but I went so far as in learning myself to code Python and then making my own AI systems, putting them in the cloud, because I really found it important to understand the mechanics. Like I said, the first principles, how does it work, so I can really help other people with it. I wouldn't say you need to do that per se to get into AI today. Well, actually, there's now something that was brought out by Andreessen Horowitz, A16Z, which is one of the more well-known US-based VCs. Mm-hmm. And they published something which is called the AI canon. Yeah, in Belgium, the Vlaamse canon. The AI canon is a bit that idea, but they're quite extensive in giving you information on both the potential of AI in terms of investing, but in terms of applications and an overview of the technology. And I think that I was very impressed with that one. I think that's a very good one. Having one source and plowing through that. And I think the other part is, what I also think is now a very interesting source of information is following a few people on Twitter that are really into the right spot. Like in the world of AI, you have Andrej Karpathy, who really always brings very interesting insights, mm-hmm. who was the head of AI at Tesla and now is part of OpenAI as well. Mm-hmm. So you have a few people, Greg Brockman, which is one of the co-founders of OpenAI as well. You have, I don't know all the names, but you have a few, Mark Andreessen, Ben Horowitz from Andreessen, those people. Follow them. They talk a lot about AI and see what is happening around, because being up to date is also very important. Yep. So those are the two things: having one source and having like a bit of a helicopter view, and then going deep in certain areas that are of your interest, and then following the right people to keep in the loop, because it's changing so fast.
So, Davio, is there maybe, before we end the interview, one last thing that you still wanted to share with us?
Well, if you want to be informed, I'm hosting a podcast series, Future Forward. You can find it on your favorite podcast platform, where I'm talking with experts, AI experts, in specific domains on unraveling the AI future.
Okay, super. Thank you for sharing that. Davio, it was a pleasure having you here today.
Thank you, Hendrik.